Hey everyone, Dylan of Harmonic Design here, this time with a video about vanilla JavaScript geolocation. In this video, we're going to be using it to create one of those pop-ups that's like when a website detects that you're in a certain country and they want to redirect you to a different version of their website for your country. So for example, I'm in Canada. So the example I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to say, if you're not in Canada, then we'll redirect you to a UK site. And if you are in Canada, then we won't redirect you because you're already at the right place. Let's actually show you an example of what that looks like. So this is what we're basically going to be building here. So we have a very simple website in the background, and we have this very plain, ugly pop-up here. And it's basically saying, oh, would you like to visit the UK site if we detect that you're in the UK? Or would you like to stay here? That's basically what we're going to be building here. So there's actually, there's really only two ways that you can do geolocation. The first is with some kind of database lookup. So the way that works is you take an IP address of the user and you can compare it to a giant database of every IP address and every IP block and get the answer back that way. The problem with that is that it's expensive and slow. You got to manage the database yourself in a lot of cases, and it's a big nightmare because it's slow because you got to usually use an SQL database or something like that. It's not the best. The other way is to use JavaScript's native geolocation API, which is great because it's fast and accurate, but we're actually not going to be doing that way either. And the reason for that is because the JavaScript API actually requires user consent to share their location data. So for example, if we were to invoke that API, the browser would show a little pop-up saying allow, it's basically saying, hey, this website would like to know your location data. Would you like to allow or block? And if the user doesn't select allow or they select block, then we're there just, twiddling our thumbs, not able to do anything. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to use JavaScript to connect to a third-party API system that will do the database lookup for us. That way we don't need to deal with any of the messiness of dealing with the database and managing it ourselves. And the best part is that it's completely free. So let's take a look at the files we have here. We have API.js, which you actually don't need. That's just a secret file. Well, I guess not secret, but it's a file that I have for this video that will take my own personal location data and kind of clean it and sanitize it for this video. Because as much as I love you all, I don't want you knowing the exact location where I live. Because shockingly and kind of frighteningly, this method is very, very accurate, at least in my own case of where I'm located. And I don't want that in the video. Next up, I have the index.html file, which is just, just this, nothing special. Staying with the style.css file, nothing special. As you saw, the style I'm using just super plain and simple just for this video. So the real file that we care about is the script file. And if you're wondering about what the HTML and CSS for this project is, don't worry. I'm going to be probably uploading this to GitHub. I'll have a link to it down in the description so you can take a look at that. But for now, let's go in and open this up in whatever code editor you prefer. I'm going to be using VS Code. And here we are. So let's just take a quick look at least the script file. So here's the script file, really nothing special. We have our style sheet, we have just some basic content, and then this is the pop-up content here. Here I'm importing the two script files, which is the API.js, which once again, you don't need, that's just for me in this video, and the script.js file. In the style sheets, actually what you see right here is literally all you need. Don't worry about pausing the video and trying to copy this down, just like I said, it'll be a link in the description below if you just want to get the basic code for this pop-up. Next is the script file, and this is basically everything we're going to need. So right up here, I have an endpoint for an API here. The company that we're going to be using to do the geolocation for us, to do the database lookup, is called ipgeolocation.io. So let's go take a look at them right now. So if I go to their site here, this is what their site looks like. And I guess first I just want to be clear that I'm not affiliated with this company in any way. I've never been in contact with them. I don't know them. It's just in my own research and my own need for a service like this. They've stood heads above everyone else absolutely love it. You just send them the IP address and they return an incredibly simple but powerful JSON string of all the information that you need. The best part, it's free. For instance, if I go to pricing, their free developer version here, 30,000 requests per month, which, let's be real, that's probably far more than most of us need. However, as you can see, their first paid is for 150,000 requests a month for only $15, which from where I'm standing is dirt cheap. So I recommend signing up. It's free to sign up. Don't quote me on this. I think you only need an email address. Okay, so they ask you for your name and email address. Between you and me, just use a temporary email service if you just don't want to give them your real email. Sign up and you'll get an API key that you will copy and paste right in here. So this will be the API key, and it's that simple. Other than that, you'll see just how easy everything is from here. For myself, I have my own API key hidden inside that API.js file, simply because I decided to actually use the API key I use in other products and didn't want to get on this video. This here is the endpoint. This is the API URL that we're going to be using. It's kind of like we ping this website and send them the IP address, and they return that JSON object. The way we're going to do that is by using JavaScript's fetch function, which if you've ever used like Ajax or anything like that, you're about to be very happy when you see how incredibly and ridiculously easy it's going to be to do this. So let's get in with the actual fun part, the actual coding. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out whether we've already geolocated this user. We don't want to geolocate them every time they come to the website. We want to geolocate them once, save that result on the user's own device. So we, the website, we, the server, we don't know or care or save that information. We save it directly to their device. That way we don't need to keep geolocating every single time. So what we're going to do, we're going to say let location equal local storage.get item, and we'll call it HDG location. Actually, we'll just call it HGD location. So if you don't know what local storage is, think of it as the browser's personal little tiny database. It's not good for storing like large amounts of data, but if you just want to store just a simple string or a couple little bits of information, it's absolutely fantastic. And this actually gets stored on the user's device itself. So the website and the server doesn't have access to it. It's only the user's browser. So since we've just written this code, if we were to go to the website, this would actually return back null because there's nothing, that this variable doesn't exist. So what we'll do, we'll say if, I know how to type, location equals null, and we'll say location equals hdg.locate. So what we need to do now, we need to actually create this locate function. So I'm going to say locate function. There it is. So we actually want this to be awaited. So here we have init asynchronous. So we're actually going to want to await this. And we'll want to make this asynchronous as well. There we go. So now here's where the magic comes from. Wait. No idea how I screwed that one up. So here's where the magic comes up. We're going to say let location equal await fetch hdg.endpoint plus API. It's honestly that easy. This fetch command followed by the URL that we're fetching, which in our case is going to be the endpoint plus our API key, right? And it's just going to automatically work and return the JSON object that we need. Using this API, it's actually possible to send a custom API to them. But in our case, we actually just want to send the IP address of the client, of whatever user's actually visiting the page. So that's all we need to do. This is literally it. So if I console log this out, it would actually show my own location data. However, as I said previously, I don't want you degenerates to know my exact location data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it to a function that I called, what did I call it? I think I called it secret. There we go. I'm pretty sure I called it secret. And what this does, it just takes this data and then sanitizes and cleans it so that you don't know it. So let's actually take a look and see if this works. Basically, this is either going to work or... Can I make that bigger? I can make it bigger. Fantastic. So this is either going to work or I forgot the name of the function and you're going to see my location. So let's respawn. Beauty. Beauty. It worked. It worked. It worked. So let's actually just go back here because I actually forgot. Well, just you can actually see the data here, right? Right. You can see some of the data there. The problem is we actually want to do something a bit simpler here. So before here, we're actually going to say location equals awaits location dot JSON. So this is actually going to take the result of this fetch and convert it into the JSON string like we actually need it. Let's actually go take a look at that again. And there we go. Now it looks a bit nicer. Now it's cleaner. We could have used it without doing this, but it's much cleaner here. So if I open up this object, you can see basically everything we need. We have the city. We have, why did that just open up? We have the city, we have the calling code, we have the province, we have the capital city of the country, we have, basically everything. We have currency information. We have basically everything we need to know here. You can see basically everything about me here. And it's like I said, like I kind of cleaned this so that you don't get I don't care if you guys know I'm in Hamilton, love this city, proud of it. But you don't need to know my exact, location. You don't need to know my address here. So I cleaned it and sanitized it here for the video. But as you can see, we can use this to do basically whatever we need to do. So if we go back here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to now save this, I'm going to save this local storage. I'm going to say local storage instead of get item. I'm going to say set item. I'm going to say location dot... what was it called? Country name. And I'm actually going to return that country name as well. So look at that. We've now completely geolocated and got the country that they're in. So let's actually walk this through. So the first thing we're going to do, we load up this, this variable called geolocation. If the location doesn't exist, and only if the location doesn't exist, we geolocate them, which will then return the name of the country. So this value will now be Canada, right? And we basically and we also save the location after geolocating it. So if I were to refresh the page, we wouldn't geolocate anymore. In fact, let's actually console log this out. So we'll console log out geolocated. So now in here, I'm going to say if location does not equal Canada, then we'll load up the pop-up. We'll just call it HDG pop-up. For now, we'll keep this function really simple. So we'll simply say, what did I name the pop-up? I don't even remember what I named it. I named it HDG. Okay, very original. Document.get element by, not get elements by ID dot class list dot add active. And let's take a look-sees. So if I go back here and I refresh, see it says geolocated, right? And now if I refresh, it no longer says geolocated because we didn't actually geolocate. However, what didn't happen is the pop-up didn't show, which means location probably doesn't actually mean Canada. So let's go see what actually saved here. And go back to here and see what actually console logs out. Oh, it says Canada. Oh, duh, I'm an idiot. I said if location isn't Canada, pop up, right? But I'm in Canada, so of course it's not going to pop up. So for testing, let's just say if it is Canada. We'll say if you are in Canada, show the pop-up. And as you can see, the pop-up actually showed up. So now what we need to do is we need to make sure that if the user selects stay, as in, yes, I'm aware, but I want to stay here on the site, we need to save and honor that. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to say if we pop up, let's go find the name. So I called it, I gave this stay button an ID of HDG stay. So I'm also going to say document.getElementByID .add event listener click function and we'll say we'll set another local storage item. We'll call it HDG location redirection. We'll say nope, we don't want to redirect. Oh, and we also want to remove this. So we'll say .remove active. So now we go back here and we do this again. And if I say stay this time, it'll remove the pop-up. But what it's also done in the background is it's set that variable called HDG redirection and we set it to nope. Now, right now, we're not using it for anything, which means if I refresh, the pop-up's still going to show up. So let's actually do something with this. So before the geolocation, we'll also say let redirect equal get item. And we want to, then we'll say, we don't need that anymore. So if location equals, no, we'll say if redirect equals nope, return. Basically do nothing, don't show the pop-up, don't continue, just stop. So now if we go back, and if I refresh the page, the pop-up no longer shows up. If I go back here to the code, and I stop that, the pop-up shows up again. That's how easy it is to do geolocation. It's really that easy. So as you can imagine, you can extend this to do whatever you want, right? So like right here, we're basically saying this here stores whether the user has manually chosen to stay on the page so that we don't keep showing them the pop-up every time. Like, hey, now do you want to redirect? What about now? They've already said no, let's just save that. This stores their location to determine whether we need to geolocate them to begin with. This here actually is the geolocation, right? And this here shows the pop-up and removes the pop-up and also saves the HDG redirection nope if they choose it. It's that simple. If you wanted to change, right here, this is location is probably where you would want to make the most modifications. So right now I'm saying, oh, if you're in Canada, show the pop-up. But you might want to say like, oh, if you're not in America, or if location.eu, right? Like I'm just saving the country. But as you saw, that API response actually gave a lot of data. So you could be like, if you're in the EU, show the pop-up. Or if your currency code is this, or what use your imagination, sky's the limit. That's how easy it is to do this geolocation. And I hope you find it, I hope you found this useful. I know that I've actually been just kind of randomly having to do a lot of little tiny geolocation stuff on some of my clients' projects. So this is just a really nice little, I don't want to know if I want to call it a library, but it's a little bit of a tiny framework that you can use and reuse in your own projects to make things just a lot easier and smoother in the future.